Rain slapped the concrete like angry fingers. The city didn't care if you were rich or poor, kind or cruel. It just kept moving. That's what Eva had learned. She walked fast through the alley, hoodie soaked, arms hugging her chest, eyes darting like she expected someone to jump out and take what little she had left. But what caught her eye that night wasn't a thief. It was a man crumpled by a dumpster, shaking uncontrollably, his skin pale, lips cracked. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. He could have been dead. Should have been, maybe. She stopped. Something in her heart squeezed. "Hey," she whispered, stepping closer. "You okay?" He didn't answer. She knelt beside him, touching his face, cold as death. For a moment she hesitated. Logic screamed at her, "Walk away." He could be on drugs, violent, dangerous. But she ignored logic. Logic was what had left her homeless for the past 6 months. Compassion was all she had. Left. She ran to a nearby store, stole a blanket, grabbed 2 bottles of water and came back. He hadn't moved. But as she tucked the blanket around him, his eyes fluttered open. Deep green eyes, sharp but unfocused. "You don't have to," he murmured. "Shut up," she said. "I'm not letting you die here." She stayed with him that night. Hours passed. They barely spoke. The rain turned to mist and slowly his shivering stopped. When morning came, he could sit up. "What's your name?" she asked. "Eli," he whispered. She gave him a small smile. "I'm Eva." That was supposed to be the end, a one-night act of kindness. But life doesn't work like that. Not in stories like these. Over the next week, Eva kept checking in on Eli. She brought scraps, stayed to talk, even gave him her last granola bar without thinking twice. There was something about him. He wasn't like other homeless men. He didn't beg. He didn't smell like booze. He listened, thought before he spoke. And then came the night everything changed. He was worse, burning up, breathing heavy. "I think I'm dying," he said, barely audible. "Hospital. I can't go. No ID." Eva's hands trembled. "You need help?" "No, I'll make it." She knew he wouldn't. His body was giving up. "I can get you somewhere warm," she said, chewing her lip. She didn't have a place, but she knew someone with a motel room, a dirty old man who'd wanted something from her for a long time in exchange. She hated herself for thinking it, but she couldn't let Eli die. The motel smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. Eva sat beside Eli on the stained mattress. He didn't know what she'd done to get the key. She didn't want him to. "You're safe now," she said, brushing his hair back. He looked at her, eyes full of questions and pain. "Why are you helping me like this?" She swallowed. "Because no one helped me, and I won't let you die like I almost did." He nodded slowly, chest rising with effort. "I wish I could give you something," he whispered. "Anything." "You already did," she said quietly. "You reminded me I still have a heart." Then she did what even she couldn't believe. She kissed him. Not out of romance, out of emotion, out of something raw and terrifying and real. And that night she gave him everything. Her innocence, her body, her hope. She didn't even ask for his story. She just thought she was saving a dying man. She had no idea he was a billionaire in hiding, running from something dark and deadly. And now? She was part of it. The motel room felt heavier the next morning. Eva sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling, shirt half-buttoned, heart in freefall. Eli was still asleep, his breath, softer now, color back in his face. She should have felt relief, but all she felt was fear, not regret, never that, but fear of what came next. She slipped out, careful not to wake him. Outside, the street was already alive with sirens, shouting, and that same sick stench of the city swallowing its broken. Eva had done things before, to survive, stealing, lying, but never this, never her body. It wasn't about purity, it was about choice, and last night didn't feel like a choice. It felt like desperation wrapped in hope. She wandered for hours, found a half-eaten sandwich in a trash bin and ate it like it was gourmet. By afternoon, she went back to the motel. Eli was gone. Panic slammed her. Gone. She rushed in. The blanket was folded, the floor clean. A note sat on the bed. "Thank you for everything. I'll find you. Eli." That was it. No number. No way to reach him. He just vanished. 3 days passed. Eva told herself to forget him. She'd saved someone. That should have been enough. But she couldn't forget how he looked at her. Not with lust, with something deeper. And she couldn't forget the way he flinched when someone walked past, or how alert his eyes got at the sound of a siren, like he was hiding from more than poverty. The 4th day, she saw him, in a black SUV parked down the block from the soup kitchen. Not as a passenger, not homeless. He was in the driver's seat, clean-shaven, dressed in a black coat, talking on a phone. Her chest collapsed in on itself. That wasn't Eli. That was a man with power. A man with money. She froze on the sidewalk, heart thudding. Watched him, through the window. Then he turned and saw her. Their eyes locked. His lips moved around words she couldn't hear. He ended the call, yanked open the door, and stepped out like the pavement belonged to him. "Eva," he said, walking fast. She took a step back. "You lied." "No, I didn't. I just didn't tell you." "That's the same thing," she snapped. He stopped in front of her, hands up, face conflicted. "I was dying, Eva, literally. I didn't plan anything. I didn't even know if I'd wake up again." She stared at him. "So who are you?" "Really?" He hesitated. Then, Elias Monroe. The name hit like a brick to the skull. She'd heard it before, everyone had. He was the missing tech billionaire. The one who vanished 3 months ago after his company got exposed in a data theft scandal that sparked FBI investigations. Headlines screamed conspiracy. Some claimed he was murdered. Others said he'd fled the country. But there he was, standing on a dirty sidewalk in front of her, very much alive. "You think I wanted this?" he asked. "To run? To almost die in the street?" She didn't answer. "I'm being hunted," he said, "by people I once trusted. I couldn't go to the police. They're in on it." Eva's throat tightened. "I stayed alive because of you," he added quietly. "And now you're in it too." She backed away again. "I didn't ask for any of this." "I know. That's why I'm here. To protect you, but you have to come with me now." "Are you crazy? I don't even know you." He stepped closer. "You know me better than anyone else ever has." The worst part? He was right. And still, something felt off. Why her? Why now? She should have run, screamed, gone to the cops. But the way he looked at her, like she was more than just a girl who helped him survive, that messed her up. And then came the snap of a camera flash across the street. Someone was watching. And just like that, she realized, she was being followed too. The camera flash was gone in a blink, but the damage was done. Eva's stomach dropped. Elias's eyes darted across the street. A man in a grey hoodie turned the corner fast, like he hadn't just aimed a lens at them. But it was too smooth, too clean. That wasn't some homeless guy or a tourist. "That wasn't random," Elias muttered. "You think?" Eva shot back. He grabbed her wrist. "We have to go." "Let me go," she hissed, yanking free. "You lied to me, vanished, and now you want me to just follow you like nothing happened." Elias stepped back, jaw clenched, eyes scanning everything around them. "We're exposed. I thought I was being careful. I thought they'd moved. Han, but if they found me, then maybe I shouldn't be standing next to you." His eyes softened. "Eva, listen to me. If they got a photo of us together, you're already involved. If they know you helped me survive, they'll use you to get to me." "Why would anyone want to kill you?" she asked, voice cracking. He hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. "I built something," he finally said, "a piece of code, AI that could manipulate information on a global scale. Stock markets, elections, media, even government databases." She blinked. "Like fake news?" "Worse. Real data, twisted so subtly no one would ever know it was altered. And you sold that." "No," he said coldly. They stole it. My own board, my partner's. When I found out, I tried to stop them. Then the leaks started. The FBI got involved. People disappeared, so I ran. Eva's mind spun. This was bigger than she could process. She was just trying to survive in the streets, not get caught in some billion-dollar war over digital weapons. I should go, she whispered. If you do, you're on your own, Elias said, and they'll find you. I guarantee it. She bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. This wasn't fair, none of it. But then again, life had never been fair. She glanced up at him. Then where are we going? He didn't smile. He just nodded and said, somewhere safe. They took the SUV. Elias drove like he was born behind the wheel. No music, no small talk, just constant checking of mirrors, scanning side streets, making random turns to see if they were being followed. He handed her a black backpack. Clothes. Burner phone, fake ID. She stared at him. You were planning this? I never stopped planning. 2 hours later, they were in the industrial part of the city, abandoned warehouses, graffiti-tagged walls, broken windows. He pulled into a garage that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Inside it was clean. Too clean. High-tech computers, monitors, a bed in the corner, security cameras on every wall. She stood in the middle, turning slowly. You were hiding here? No one checks the places that look forgotten. She walked toward one of the monitors. It showed a live feed from outside, a black car parked across the street, tinted windows, engine off. Is that one of them? He joined her, face stone cold. Probably. Eva's breath caught. Then, why are we standing here? Because they're waiting for something. Her signal. A confirmation. He turned to her. They don't know who you are yet. But they will. She backed up. You said you'd protect me. And I will. But you need to understand something, Eva. This isn't about me anymore. It's about leverage. They'll use anyone I care about. The air felt suddenly sharp. She whispered, You care? He didn't blink. Yes. That's when she realized. She'd been pulled into a story much bigger than love, sex, or survival. She wasn't just the girl who gave herself to save a stranger. She was now the only weakness he had left, and someone out there had already noticed. The warehouse felt colder now. Eva sat on the edge of the bed, arms crossed tight, eyes locked on the blacked-out monitor. Elias paced like a caged wolf, barking orders into a headset, checking data feeds, switching cameras. For someone supposedly hunted, he didn't look scared. He looked ready. But she was the opposite. Every second stretched like time was dragging her towards something she couldn't see. I need to know, she said suddenly. Elias stopped. Know what? Why me? Don't say it was random. You're too careful for random. His jaw clenched. That night when I found you by the dumpster, was it an accident? She pushed. He stared at her. I didn't know you. That's not an answer. He sat down across from her, elbows on his knees. No, I didn't plan for you. But once I woke up, once I realized what you did for me, I knew I couldn't just walk away. Eva's stomach twisted. So I was a weakness. You were a human moment, he said softly, in a world that stopped feeling human a long time ago. She hated how much that hit her, how part of her wanted to believe it, but something still didn't fit. Someone followed us. Someone knew, she said. What if it wasn't you they were watching? Elias tilted his head. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe I wasn't the only one who stumbled into this. What if someone led me to you? He frowned, but before either could say more, a loud buzz echoed through the warehouse. The door Eva flinched. Elias stood fast, grabbed a sleek black pistol from under the table, and motioned her to the wall. She backed into the shadows, heart slamming. He pressed the intercom, no voice, just another buzz, then a knock, then a voice. Eva? Her blood froze. That voice. She knew it. Jason? She whispered, stepping toward the door. Elias grabbed her wrist. Don't. He's my friend, she said, from before the streets. He helped me once. He's not like them. Elias didn't move. No one just shows up here. But the voice came again. Eva, I know you're in there. They're coming. You're not safe with him. That's when the room cracked open. Elias opened the door just a sliver. Jason stood there, hood up, face pale, eyes darting. He looked rough, like someone who hadn't slept in days. But he wasn't scared. He was focused. "I know who he is," Jason said, locking eyes with Elias, "and I know who she is too." "What are you talking about?" Eva asked, stepping forward. Jason looked at her, voice low. "You think you just found him? You think some dying billionaire just happened to fall into your life?" He pulled a folded piece of paper from his coat and threw it on the table. Elias snatched it up, read it. His face went white. "What is it?" Eva asked, dread in her throat. He looked up slowly. "It's a contract," Elias said. Jason nodded grimly. "She was a target. 6 months ago they planted her." Eva laughed, nervously, confused. "What the hell are you talking about?" Jason turned to her. "Eva, you weren't just some random girl on the streets. You were bait. You were put there, your name, your face, your story. They built it. You've been watched for a year, groomed without knowing, waiting for him to crawl out of hiding, and when he did..." He nodded toward Elias. "You were exactly where they needed you." The ground vanished under her feet. "No, that's not true. I lived in shelters. I starved. I nearly died." Jason stepped closer, gentler now. "And who saved you every time? Who always helped just in time? The old man who gave you a motel key? The woman who always gave you extra food at the shelter? Eva, they were handlers. You didn't know. You were a pawn." Elias stood, frozen, staring at her like she'd just morphed into a ghost. "I didn't know," Eva whispered. But even she wasn't sure anymore. What if it was true? What if her whole story, her whole pain, was part of something much darker? And worst of all, what if the people chasing Elias had never needed to find him? They already had her. She sat in silence as the two men stared each other down. One was holding a gun, the other was holding the truth. The paper still lay on the table, creased, stamped, official. A contract, dated 6 months before she met Elias. Her name on it. A photo of her from before she even knew how broken she'd become. She couldn't breathe. Jason spoke first. "They studied your profile, your trauma, your patterns. You think. So that motel key was a coincidence. That old man had a record. He was paid. Everything was designed to push you to the edge, just close enough to the places Elias might be hiding." "I didn't know," Eva said again. It sounded weak, pathetic, even to herself. Elias didn't say a word. He looked like he was running through every moment, every time she touched him, kissed him, held him, and questioning all of it. Eva turned to him, desperate. "I swear to you, Elias, I didn't know. I thought I was just surviving. That's all I've ever done." "You were," Jason said. "But that's the twisted part. They used your pain like a weapon." "Why are you even here?" Elias finally said, voice low. "Dangerous." "Who do you work for?" Jason shrugged. "Nobody now. I walked away, but not before I saw the files. Not before I realized what they were doing to her." Eva blinked. You knew?" Jason's jaw clenched. "I tried to warn you. The night I brought you that stolen food and told you to run. You didn't listen." "I thought you were just being paranoid." "I was, Eva," he snapped, "because paranoia is what keeps people like us alive." Elias rubbed his face, then paced the room. "All right. Let's say I believe you. Let's say Eva was used. What do they want now?" Jason looked him, dead in the eye. "They want the access code, the back door to the AI." Eva turned to Elias. "What access code?" He didn't answer. Jason pressed. "They don't care about her. She was just the rope. You're the anchor." "But if you won't give them the code, they'll kill her." Elias's voice dropped. "They try and they die." Jason nodded. "I'm not here to hurt her. I came because I still owe her, and because I knew she'd never believe it if it didn't come from someone she trusted." Eva felt the cracks finally break wide open. Her chest, her ribs, her memories, everything splintered. "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "You're not their puppet," Jason said. "Not anymore." She looked at Elias. He hadn't moved. He was staring at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "Do you still trust me?" she asked. His eyes were cold, calculating, but soft at the edges. "I don't trust anyone, but I believe you didn't know, and that's enough for now." Jason pulled out a flash drive. "This has surveillance, footage, names, internal messages. I stole it before they found out I was snooping." Elias took it and plugged it into his system. Screens lit up, faces, documents, blurry camera angles of Eva walking in and out of shelters. Before she even knew Elias existed, her life was mapped out like a project. "This isn't just targeting," Elias muttered. "This is asset development. They didn't want you to find me by accident. They wanted me to trust you." "Why?" Eva asked. "What was the endgame?" Elias stared at the screen, then whispered, "So I'd give you the code willingly." A chill slid down her spine. "You think I'd ever betray you?" she asked, barely able to speak. "That's the point," he said. "They made sure you wouldn't. That I'd trust you so much I'd hand over everything and never question it." Jason stepped back toward the door. "They know where you are. If I found you, so did they. You need to move." Eva caught his arm. "You're not coming." He gave her a sad smile. "I've already done too much. If they catch me, they'll kill me. I'm off grid from here on." He handed her a second flash drive. "Backup in case he doesn't make it." Then he was gone. The silence after he left felt nuclear. Elias turned to her. "Pack only what you need. We're leaving. In 10. Where?" "Where?" "Wait to finish this." Eva narrowed her eyes. "What does that mean?" He looked at her, and for the first time since he'd crawled out of that alley, he smiled. Just a little. "It means we stop running." They left the warehouse just before dawn. The city still slept, but the storm inside Eva's chest was wide awake. Every light in a window felt like a scope. Every car parked on the curb looked like it had eyes. She sat beside Elias in the SUV, one hand gripping the flash drive Jason gave her like it was a grenade. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. Neither did he. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of unspoken things. Guilt, confusion, fear, something like betrayal. But also trust. The kind of twisted trust that only grows between people who've already saved each other once. Elias drove 2 hours out of the city, into the hills. Then he pulled off-road, tires grinding gravel, and stopped in front of a metal bunker carved into a cliffside. Hidden behind a sheet of rust and rock, it looked abandoned, but the biometric scanner said otherwise. He placed his hand on the pad. The steel door hissed open. Inside it looked like a different planet, a command center, wall-to-wall screens, servers, weapons, backup batteries, surveillance systems with facial recognition, heat signatures, and global tracking. Eva stared like she'd just stepped into the cockpit of a warship. "What is this place, Ma?" she asked. "My ghost nest," Elias said. "Only 2 people ever knew about it. One tried to kill me, the other's buried in Romania, and now me." He turned to her. "If I didn't trust you, you wouldn't be standing here." Eva swallowed. She didn't want this life, but it was hers now. Elias moved like a man with a mission. He plugged in Jason's flash drive, cross-referenced the data with what he already had, and pulled up a name. Lennox Rainey, CEO, investor, head of the same tech board that betrayed Elias. A man who'd smiled on magazine covers, gave speeches about digital harmony, and now used AI to destabilize countries and erase enemies. "He's the spider," Elias muttered. "Everything runs through him. Data laundering, puppet regimes, even asset grooming." Eva flinched. That last part, that was her. Elias turned to her. "He wanted to destroy me by manipulating the one thing I didn't know I still had." "A heart," she said, a little too bitter. He almost smiled. "No, conscience." He tapped a button and pulled up a live stream. Lennox Rain giving a keynote speech across the country. Tomorrow, in a private tech summit, tight security, government sponsors, a fortress with cameras and armed guards. "We hit him there," Elias said. Eva blinked. "You're going to assassinate him?" "No," Elias said. "I'm going to expose him." He turned to her, eyes burning. "We are. The next 20 hours were chaos. Elias trained her, fast, brutal, how to walk without being seen, how to jam a signal, how to spot a tail. Eva soaked it in, because she had no choice. Every second felt like her old life cracking in her ribs and something new growing in its place. They flew under fake names, rented a truck from a contact Elias once saved from a cartel in Mexico, slept 2 hours in a truck stop bathroom, then rolled up to the summit dressed like press. Eva wore a black blouse, dark lipstick, and a press badge that gave her access to almost anywhere. Elias, clean cut, back to billionaire mode. Hair slicked, blazer sharp, voice like silk. They blended in perfectly. No one saw the war behind their eyes. The conference was full of elites, CEOs, politicians, think tank puppets clinking glasses while selling futures like candy. Eva couldn't stop looking at them and wondering which of them had watched her videos, her surveillance footage, her broken story laid bare like a product. And then she saw him. Lennox Rain, tall, smiling, snake in a $10,000 suit. Elias moved fast, uploading the data from Jason's drive into the summit's internal network. Videos, emails, secret recordings, names, deals, grooming documents with Eva's photo stamped in the top corner. What if they shut it down? She whispered. They won't. Why not? He looked at her. Because they don't know we're already in their system. Then he nodded once. Now. She hit the button. Every screen in the summit flickered. Conversations stopped. The room dimmed. And then her face on every screen, footage of her on the street, at the shelter, in the motel, voice logs between Lennox and the handlers discussing Asset AV3, mapping her movements, her emotions, her virginity, and then Elias's files, financial trails, bribes, blackmail, the entire conspiracy, in public view. The silence broke like glass. People shouted, some screamed, phones rang. Lennox turned white, then red, then livid. Elias grabbed Eva's hand. Time to go. They sprinted through chaos, ducked into the service corridor. Eva's heart thundered. You just made yourself a target all over again, she gasped. Elias grinned like a man who finally got his revenge. Good, let them come. They barely made it out the side exit before the summit went on lockdown. Sirens blared. Security screamed into radios. Glass shattered behind them as panicked investors knocked over champagne tables in a stampede of terrified wealth. Eva and Enkay. Elias ducked into a waiting car. One Elias had remotely unlocked minutes earlier. He hotwired it, reversed hard into traffic, and didn't slow down until they were halfway out of the city. Neither of them spoke for miles, not until Elias's phone buzzed, a single notification on the encrypted app. He glanced at it, then cursed. What is it? Eva asked. They're putting a hit out, real one. Open bounty on us. 7 figures. She stared at him. Are you serious? They don't care about cleanup anymore, he said. They just want it over. Eva leaned back in her seat, her breath shaky. I thought exposing them would stop this. Elias shook his head. You don't stop people like Lennox with truth. You stop them by cutting off their head. Silence. Then Eva whispered, Then let's do it. He turned to her slowly. You still with me? He asked. Her voice didn't shake. I was never not. That night, they didn't hide. They parked the car behind an old farmstead Elias once owned under a shell corporation. It was off-grid, all solar-powered, built like a fortress. Eva took a shower, stared at herself in the mirror, and didn't recognize the girl looking back. No fear in her eyes now, no confusion, just a storm building. She walked out to find Elias on the porch, shirtless, his side taped from an injury she hadn't seen before. A bruise bloomed on his ribs. He was cleaning a weapon like it was second nature. She sat beside him. Were you always like this? She asked. No. What changed? He didn't answer for a long time. Then, someone lied to me, said I was building the future, but I was just building a cage. When I found out, I broke everything I'd built, and they've been chasing me ever since. She looked at his hands, steady, scarred, always moving. Why didn't you fight back before? He stared out into the trees. Because I didn't have a reason to live. Then you found me. Eva felt that, deep, in her bones. Then he looked at her, and something passed between them. Not lust, not adrenaline. Bond. Something earned in war, in pain, in choices that can't be undone. That night, they didn't touch. They just stayed close, back to back in the bunker's small bed, listening to the wind push against the glass like the world wanted in. It wasn't peace, but it was the closest thing they'd had in months. The next morning Elias had a plan. "We go for the server farm in Nevada," he said. "That's where they hide their blackmail files, off-book AI training models, deepfake. Infrastructure. We shut that down, they lose leverage, we wipe their memory clean." "How do we get in?" "We don't." He handed her a drive. "You do." Eva frowned. "Me?" "You're still invisible to them, Eva. Or you were. Your face isn't in the FBI system. You're not a threat in their eyes. I already cloned a master access key card from the summit. You just have to walk in like a temp." "Walk in?" she said. "That's suicide." "It's the only way," he said. "I'll be your backup. Remote eyes, system override, everything." "And if I get caught?" Elias didn't blink. "Then I burn the whole building down." Eva gave a sharp laugh. "I think I'm starting to believe you." He stepped close, cupped her face gently, eyes locked on hers. "You were never a pawn, Eva. You were the glitch in their program, the one thing they didn't see coming." She swallowed the fear in her throat, then nodded. "Let's end this." 12 hours later, Eva walked into the facility with a fake ID badge clipped to her shirt and a wire in her ear. Elias's voice guided her through every corridor. The place buzzed with quiet tension, guards at every door, engineers hunched over machines that monitored digital pipelines most people never knew existed. Then, finally, she reached the heart. Server room B9. Eva slid the card through. The light blinked green. She slipped inside, heart hammering. "Go to rack 42, Elias said through the wire. "There's a port. Plug it in. 30 seconds, and we'll have full system override." She did it. Drive in. System accessed. Upload complete in 10:09. But then the door clicked. A red light blinked, and Eva froze. "Someone's coming," she whispered. Elias's voice turned sharp. "Abort now. Get out of there. I'll blow the backup from my end." But it was too late. The door opened, and standing there was Jason, smiling, holding a gun. "Hey, Eva," he said. "Miss me?" Jason stepped into the server room like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. Same hoodie, same fake concern in his eyes. But now she could see the truth, the calm underneath, the manipulation behind his words. The smile that never quite reached his eyes. "Put your hands up," he said casually. "You're really bad at listening, Eva." Her mouth was dry. "You were never on my side," he chuckled. "I was never on anyone's side. I just knew how to play both long enough to stay alive." Her eyes darted to the rack, where the drive blinked green. Upload complete. Elias had the access. The system was theirs. She just had to stay alive a little longer. "You used me," she said. "So did he," Jason replied. "Elias needed a human shield. I needed bait. You were always just the middle of the story. The tragic, broken girl everyone would underestimate." He stepped closer, gun aimed square at her chest. "Funny thing is," he added, "they all assumed you'd crumble the second you found out the truth. But look at you now, playing spy, marching into one of the most protected data centers in the country." "I'm not crumbling," she said. "Not anymore." Jason smiled wider. "No, you're not." Then he pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing. His face twitched in confusion. He looked at the gun. Safety was off. That second of hesitation was all Eva needed. She slammed her elbow into the rack, ripped a steel panel loose and swung it into his face. He staggered back, yelling, blood spraying from his nose. She didn't wait. She grabbed the emergency fire extinguisher and smashed it into his ribs. Once, twice, 3 times, screaming like something inside her had snapped wide open. Jason hit the floor hard, but he wasn't done. He reached for the gun again, and this time it wasn't jammed. Eva dove, fingers curling around the flash drive. Jason aimed. "Goodbye, sweetheart." Bang! She flinched, but the bullet never hit. Elias stood in the doorway, gun in hand, eyes burning. Jason dropped to the ground, blood blooming in his chest. Elias didn't move. He walked to Eva, eyes locked on hers. "You okay?" She nodded slowly, still shaking. "I think so." They stood over Jason's body. No words, just the quiet understanding that the worst was over. Almost. The servers were fried. The data upload complete. Elias took down every bit of infrastructure Lennox's machine relied on: blackmail files, AI control systems, manipulated identities, and puppet elections. Gone in a wave of digital fire. The next day, the world changed. Lennox Rana was arrested, live on television. An anonymous dump of terabytes worth of internal corruption was leaked across every major outlet in the world. Whistleblowers came forward. Shell companies collapsed. Lawmakers who thought they were untouchable vanished from headlines. Some arrested. Some just disappeared. And the two people who lit the match vanished too. 6 months later, somewhere in Portugal. Eva sat at a seaside cafe, wind in her hair, sun on her face. She was reading a book, something soft and slow, the kind of thing broken people never had time for. Elias joined her, 2 coffees in hand. He sat down quietly, passed her one. They didn't need words. Not anymore. "I saw your name trending." "Again," she said, not looking up. "They're calling you a ghost hero." He chuckled. "Let them, I like being a ghost. And me." He smiled. "You were never a ghost. You were the spark." She sipped her coffee. "So what now?" Elias leaned back, sun in his eyes. "We live, as long as they let us." "And if they come again?" He looked at her, and this time he really smiled. "Then we remind them who survived last time." They clinked their cups together. The girl who was once just a forgotten face in a forgotten alley now sat beside the man who once had everything and lost it all. But together, they were something even more dangerous, free.